This is Gallagher Premiership Tonight. We're in the bowels of Welford Road in our little studio here. This is your show, #GP Tonight. You ask the questions, you set the editorial. It's all about you guys and our guests, of course. John, all eyes on you now, I'm afraid, because obviously you're fresh back from the Rugby World Cup. It was a disappointing campaign, but I'm going to let the viewers ask the questions if you don't mind. They start with a really easy one. This is Colin Hotchkiss. How did it go so wrong for us, Scotland, in the World Cup? Yet another false dawn. Should Townsend go, and if so, who replaces him? So let's deal with the first bit first. How did it go so wrong for Scotland?
Yeah, that's probably the only bit I'll answer, I'll be honest. I think Ugo touched on it before. If you slip up for a small amount of time, you go home. And I think the whole Ireland game was so disappointing. But we could have played really well and lost by 8 points, and we would have been in the exact same situation come the last game. And then we just didn't play well enough against Japan. We kind of knew going into it that it was going to come down to the last game and with the way the games fell. So we performed very poorly against Ireland, and we did everything we could in the next two games in terms of our performances and getting maximum points. And then we just gave ourselves too much work against Japan. When we looked at it, I genuinely thought with about 20 to go we were going to come back. It almost felt like that England game at Twickenham. We were there watching it, and it felt like that kind of comeback was on. But then Japan were too good on the day, and I think it's easy to sit here and say, find reasons why we could have done a lot of stuff better, of course, but Japan were better than us.
I think people in the Ireland game were surprised you didn't have an answer for what Ireland were doing, because it was so obvious. They had defenders bolting from the line, shutting down Russell, shutting down all your playmakers. They go, why are you not dinking balls over the top and testing that, countering that? Yeah. Like, were those conversations not taking place, or was it just too hard to do? Was there another element maybe we just didn't spot?
Yeah, I think it was one of those games where it's when you watch it back, and it just felt like one of those games we couldn't get a foothold in the game. Certainly every time we had some sort of field position, we had one where first phase we dropped the ball got kicked 80 metres down the pitch, bounced off the post, scrum 5 metres out, Ireland score, and it seemed to be that field we just couldn't get ourselves in the game. The ball was slippy. Second half we came out and we knew we had to score some points, and it started to chuck it down. So certainly we're trying to find solutions when we're playing, absolutely, but we just it's one of those games, and you guys would have certainly played them, where you just feel like you just can't do anything wrong, and no one's more disappointed than us. That's one of the things that I found most not hurtful, frustrating. It was just there was a perception that it looked like we didn't care. I mean, but that's, to me, is almost crazy. We've spent 4 years preparing, or I'd gone 4 years having not got picked from the last World Cup, come back from an Achilles, and people saying to you, and we live in this generation where you can have this trial by social media to say, oh, it looks like you don't care because people are putting things on Instagram, they're out doing things in Japan and trying to enjoy themselves, because the World Cup for us wasn't over after that first day. Like I said, we could have lost by 8 points, played really well. We didn't, but we certainly took care of the next two games. But yeah, overall, it will be remembered as a very disappointing few weeks.
I think people perhaps were having a dig at Scotland or Scotland players, and they don't care. And I spent a good amount of time with the players. I don't think the SRU guys helped you. I don't think the SRU helped you at all. When they came out with a statement after the game saying it shouldn't be expected for this Scotland team that finished second bottom in the Six Nations to turn over Ireland. I think when you've got your union projecting things like that, that's certainly not going to appease the fans. And I know how hard the players worked, but the SRU in that moment, their reaction I thought was pretty poor.
Can you give us an idea on the pitch? Just bring us down onto the turf. What was it like for your guys playing against Japan? I mean, what is it like facing that relentless kind of rugby they played?
I wasn't playing, so
like
thanks for bringing that up.
Like the guys afterwards in the team room, like what were they saying about it?
One of the things was, I don't know if were you at the stadium today?
I was there, yeah.
The atmosphere was unbelievable, and the atmosphere for the whole World Cup was incredible, and you could sense that they were sort of riding the wave of that emotion, and with the typhoon and everything was kind of building towards it. But I think the way they played the game was, they played such a fast brand of rugby. They're so accurate with the ball. Their offloading and their contact skills were amazing, really. And the way they beat Ireland wasn't a surprise. And the way I think they competed really well in the quarterfinal against South Africa. And I think the scoreline maybe exaggerated the difference, but they've certainly shown the world how quality a team they were. We didn't underestimate. We knew, having watched them, we got to play them last to see how good they were. But the guy said the speed of ball they were creating, and again, you can look back and you look at how South Africa defended against them, didn't give them that space, kept coming up kind of similar to what England did against New Zealand. But the guy said it was pretty full on, pretty ferocious, but the last one it kind of opened up.
I have a feeling this one's going to end up coming your way, Jim, but I better ask it because it has been asked. Should Townsend go, and if so, who replaces him?
Yeah, it's a difficult one. Naturally, for John to answer, look, these questions are always going to get asked, especially when a team underperforms, if that's what you want to say. And I played for Scotland for nearly 10 years, and it was always high expectation, and we just didn't deliver for whatever reason. You know, Vern Cotter at the last World Cup 2015, and me and John were there for the build-up to that. Under Vern Cotter, Scotland, we were improving, and, you know, I didn't play much under Vern. He didn't like me, didn't rate me, and he was probably right. He made tough decisions on players that had been around for a long, long time. He came in with a hard-nosed edge to change the perception of Scottish rugby, change the way they attack, change the mindset, change everything about what Scotland has done in recent years. And then it came to a point where Gregor Townsend was doing so well at Glasgow, and he was at a crossroads whether he was going to go and sign for a Premiership team or go to the top 14 and coach. And Scotland didn't want to lose him. So they accelerated the process of asking Vern to move on. And Vern got a really big opportunity, as we know, at Montpellier, and Gregor takes the reins. And I just think under Gregor Townsend, for whatever reason, it's not necessarily him as a coach, Scotland haven't really progressed. You know, the results have been fairly kind of similar to what they were, and the expectation going into the World Cup was high. I think when I look at Scotland play now, and it's easy to sit here and judge, having been in that position and been a player and been frustrated, and high expectation going to the Six Nations, and you end up coming out with the wooden spoon, and, you know, then it's a repeat. I just don't think the way that the game has gone in the last couple of years in itself. Yes, we've now got a Stuart Hogg, we've got a Finn Russell, we've got a Darcy Graham, you know, we've got guys in the centre, Hugh Jones when he was on form, that can do things. But it's a little bit more than that. The power now that we're seeing of the top teams, New Zealand, as we said before, now England, Ireland when they were doing so well, Japan at the World Cup, they've got players across the board that have got the ability and contact to go and go again. And unfortunately for Scotland, for whatever reason, they just don't really seem to have that. So Gregor's naturally going to be under pressure.
That's what he's going to strive for. I'm going to just do some quick fire ones, if you don't mind. Eshelby Leisure, I'm sure that's your business. It couldn't be your surname. That would have been a tough school life if your surname was Leisure. Where does Scotland go from here, and what do they class as success during the Six Nations? Where do they go from here?
A bit of a regroup, obviously. And then, there's no hiding away from it. We didn't do well at the World Cup, so we'll have to dust ourselves off and look at how we can do better, because obviously what we're doing isn't good enough at the moment.
I'm going to keep firing these at you. This is from David Grant. Oh, they don't get easier. Are you retiring from international rugby? If so, I'll be very sorry to see you go. Scotland have never replaced the Killer Bees.
Kelly sent that one in. No, I'm not. A few people asked me. I haven't said anything about that, so no, I'd like to keep playing if I can.
Yeah, and you're still getting yourself ready for a new season with Edinburgh, of course, but and you probably want to play. You want to get back on the horse and get out there, get going again. As a back row, would you say Curry, Underhill, Vunipola is the best row in world rugby at the moment? From Thomas Whitaker.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, you can't argue against that one, can you? Yeah, brilliant stuff. Is it time for Scottish rugby to have at least another pro team? They're trying.
That's an easy question. Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, this is probably above my sort of brain horsepower, but I just don't think there's the money. I think generally across the UK, rugby teams don't generally make money. There's a few that maybe turn over a small profit, but whereas that, it's fine to say yes, we should, because I know we're talking about playing numbers here and exposing more players to top level sport and having a bigger playing pool, but a pro team to run costs, I don't know, X number of £1 million. Who's giving us that money?
Yeah. No place for that.
Don't look at me.
No, look at you.
There you go.
And I'm gonna finish with this one from a very quick. And do you have a desire to go into coaching when your playing days are over? That's from Kenneth Williams.
I have mixed feelings about it. I think again, I've spoken to Jim a lot about this before, and I think you can end up in the same cycle of uncertainty, which doesn't really get spoken about. Player uncertainty with regards to your future, where you're going to make your income, and I think that's probably more heightened at a coaching level. So I don't know, time will tell.
I'm going to answer this last question. Where's your favourite place to go for a pint in Clonethley? From Chunky Prop 3. Cardiff is the answer to that one. Thank you so much. I'm only joking, I love Clonethley. Thank you so much, John, and thanks for being so honest. Jim, great to have your company. Ugo is always brilliant. Now, Wednesday night, Rugby Tonight on tour. Martin Bayfield and Ugo there will be taking it to Harlequins. That's at 10 p.m. on BT Sport 2 HD. We'll be back next Sunday with the show. Thanks for your time. Thanks for getting involved. And thanks to John. Take care and goodbye.